Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
At St. Francis Heart Center, we're not just regional heart experts. We share our greater success with the world. We don't just pioneer technology. We do it more than anywhere on Greater Long Island. And we don't just win awards. We deliver greater outcomes for people like you. As New York's only specialty designated cardiac center, we're not satisfied with just being good. This is Long Island. This is St. Francis Heart Center. And greater lives here.
From Cy Donnelly Field here on the campus of St. Anthony's High School. The Blue Wave have made their way from the state of Connecticut to take on the Friars of St. Anthony's. It is an annual, anticipated showdown, and it's all right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Today's showdown between Darien and St. Anthony's, sponsored by Catholic Health. Well, a pleasant good evening, everyone. Dylan Butler alongside Mike Nelson for what should be a fantastic matchup here between two teams who, one, we know will play anybody in the country. Both schedules absolutely loaded. We know Darien doesn't mind coming to the island. They already beat Manhasset in their annual Battle of the Sound. And these two teams regularly meet. It's always an entertaining game. The fact that it comes late in the regular season is good for both teams. Look, again, their schedules are such there are no cupcakes, especially for a St. Anthony's. This is senior night. Usually you have a favorable matchup on senior night. Not for Keith Weisrick and the Friars. They play a perennial powerhouse in Darien.
Yeah, Darien, the perennial powerhouse in Connecticut, like you said. The second trip to Long Island, they played Manhasset earlier. They were just off kind of like getting started in the beginning of the year when they played Manhasset. But they have a challenge today in St. Anthony, one of the best teams in the country. And
again, it should be a lot of fun when we take a look at Darien. It's a team that, they had a slow start largely because they had so much success on the ice in the winter. Their hockey team, there's a lot of correlations between hockey and lacrosse for this team, so it took a little bit of time to get rid of their hockey legs and get their lacrosse legs going, but they have done just that of late. We saw on the weekend they lost to a Brunswick team that is nationally ranked. They bounced back off of that one, but it is a team that they're a young team, but super, super talented.
Super talented and super big. They got some big horses on the team. Holdovers from hockey. After I saw them play the last time against Manhasset, I went online and I watched the hockey game. Just as impressive in the hockey game as they were on the lacrosse field.
Blue Wave come into this game with a 6-3 record. They started a little bit later in the state of Connecticut. Not until April 5th was their first game. That was a loss at Fairfield Prep. And when we talk about Darien, a couple guys that we will highlight on attack, it's Ben Bilodeau, the junior. He is bound for Georgetown. He is that guy who draws every other team's top defensive player. And on the back end, maybe the best lacrosse player on this Darien side, Mark McNamara, just a physical specimen at 6'6", 220, bound for Penn State.
Yeah, we've seen him play before. Most tall, lanky kids, they kind of have to grow into their body when they get into college. Mark McNamara already has a college build. He's ready to go next year at Penn State.
Yeah, and you can see there the numbers as well for both guys. Really impressive as well for this Darien team. St. Anthony's, we saw them on the weekend, and they had to have a little bit of a circle of the wagon moment. A rare 3-game losing streak, and they bounced back in a big way, beating the number 2 team in the country in Lawrenceville. And then they go up to New Rochelle. They beat Iona Prep. So it's back-to-back wins right now for St. Anthony's. They are 9-4 on this season. They're still a team that is banged up and still a little bit on the younger side as well. A lot of juniors they're leaning heavily on here. But listen, it's St. Anthony's. It's the Friars. It's a next-man-up mentality. And the response to that 3-game losing streak has been very positive for Keith Weiserick.
Well, as we mentioned before, there are no cupcakes on the calendar, on their schedule. Every game is meant to, prepare them for the playoffs, and there's no weeks off for them. They had a couple of bumps in a row, but they're straightened out at this point.
As you mentioned, this is senior night here at Cy Donnelly Field, so let's highlight a couple of those seniors here. For the Friars, Alex Ruddy runs on that first midfield line along with Gary Merrill and Jake Johnston. You see his numbers on the season, 11-3 for the Michigan commit. And Michael Kelton, part of a really solid defensive unit. See 10 ground balls, 10 calls, turnovers for a guy who will go up and play at West Point.
So I'm looking at the roster before the game, and I'm trying to decide as an opposing coach, who do you guard against on St. Anthony's? Who do you put your number 1 against? It's just kind of pick your poison. They just keep throwing talented guys after talented guys at you.
And that is the question that Jeff Braymeyer, no doubt, was trying to figure out, the longtime legendary head coach at Darien. Let's meet the Blue Wave starting lineup now. And on attack, it's Jeffers, Thurlow, the Villanova commit, and Bilodeau. Not a senior among them. That's a sophomore and 2 juniors. Your first midfield, it's Connor McNamara, the twin brother of Mark McNamara, except he is an inch taller at 6'7", just an absolute matchup nightmare. Max McBride, he's the guy who usually draws the long pole in that first midfield line. He's bound for Lafayette. And then Wes Scallon rounds out that first midfield line. At LSM, it's Rowan Levine, probably the top junior defensive player on this team. You see the closety of McNamara along with Benedict and Eli. And in the cage, listen, you're special when you wear the number 12 for Darien, and George Persinger is just that.
That's an honor for Persinger to wear that number. I'm sure he's really, he feels that honor, and he probably feels the pressure of it as well. But for a senior goalie and a leader, he's well-deserved.
Good numbers as well for Persinger on the season. And Darien's head coach, there he is in his 42nd season. He is the founder of this Darien lacrosse program, a program that has won 19 FCAC titles, 14 state championships. They made it to the state Final Four in 25 consecutive years. Jeff Braymeyer, 687 wins, 6th all-time nationally for the longtime head coach of this program.
That's just impressive to see what he's done in that program in the state of Connecticut from the inception till now. And when you're a good coach, you find it. You have to surround yourself with good assistants as well.
Yes, and he has done that as well. Assistant coaches for Darien. As associate head coach, Chris Scritta in his 10th season, Chris Schreiber, and Rick Beardsley. Beardsley is the DC for this Blue Wave team.
Beardsley, the legend.
Yes, another legend. Let's meet the starters for St. Anthony's. On attack, it's Rooney, Massaro, and Harrigan. Joining Ruddy on that first midfield line, of course, Gary Merrill and Jake Johnston. Jake Johnston, a player that Braymeyer says he believes to be the glue of that attacking 6. At LSM, we will see actually Parker McDonald. Ethan Bramoff will play close D along with Michael Kelton and Chris Inzerillo. And in the cage, it is the junior Dylan Rappaport. They split goalies this season, and today it is the junior bound for Loyola in the cage for the Friars.
That's interesting that such a program, with high expectations, is able to find 2 goalies that they can rely on equally. Dylan's a big kid. He fits that big goalie mold, and he takes up a lot of cage. Great reflexes, and it shows that they have a lot of confidence in him as a junior goalie.
And the head coach for the Friars, Keith Weiserick, 26th season at the helm. How about 351 career wins? Picked up 350 in that win over Lawrenceville on the weekends. His assistant coaches, Kevin Adler, is his defensive coordinator, and the great Doug Schreiber is his offensive coordinator. We will have the keys and the opening face-off when we return here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
At St. Francis Heart Center, we're not just regional heart experts. We share our greater success with the world. We don't just pioneer technology. We do it more than anywhere on Greater Long Island. And we don't just win awards. We deliver greater outcomes for people like you. As New York's only specialty designated cardiac center, we're not satisfied with just being good. This is Long Island. This is St. Francis Heart Center. And greater lives here.
Hey parents, Varsity Media is now offering ISO video of just your athlete. Why settle for the wide angle that shows every player on the field? With our ISO video, your athlete is front and center the entire game. This footage will help in creating highlight videos for college coaches to better pinpoint your athlete's play on the field. Watching our video will help your athlete improve progressively throughout the season and may lead to a college scholarship. Varsity Media is now booking ISO videos for the spring, but spots are limited. Contact us today for lacrosse, baseball, softball, and tennis by calling 516-403-2050 or emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. It's time to book a Varsity Media Sportscast and get on the big stage. A Varsity Media Sportscast is seen by thousands of people, both live and on demand, from friends and family all over the world to prospective college coaches. Our announcers will help tell the story of your team and your athletes. There is no bigger stage to be on than Varsity Media. Book a sportscast today by contacting Varsity Media.
Welcome back to Cy Donnelly Field here in South Huntington. Dylan Butler, Mike Nelson, our entire Varsity Media crew for a late regular season showdown between Darien and St. Anthony's. These two teams, as we say, they meet annually, and it's always an entertaining matchup. One thing that Keith Weiserick, the St. Anthony's coach, said what he loved about Darien and Jeff Braymeyer, he said through the years they are not afraid to play anybody. They absolutely load up their schedule. And we saw it on the weekend as well. They played Brunswick. Chaminade went up to Darien as well. We said, of course, their annual matchup every year against Manhasset, that battle of the Sound. And now they make the trip out to South Huntington to take on the Friars. 6-3 Darien, 9-4 St. Anthony's. Let's take a look at our keys to this one. And for Darien, Braymeyer said it's very similar to our game against Chaminade and our game against Brunswick. You've got to reduce the amount of possession times off the face-off, right? So you might lose the face-off, although he's got a pretty good freshman, and we'll talk about in a moment.
Right.
But it's about trying to figure out ways to get more possessions back. It's team defense, which means also we'll see a lot of zone and handle St. Anthony's in their ride and their pressure, and of course shoot well as well. And for the Friars, middle of the field has at times been a concern. They want to be clean there. They want to continue to clear efficiency and go at least 50% at the X. Who will be at the X? Let's meet them now. For St. Anthony's, It is Mikey Riley, and then you see for Darien, the freshman, Gus Cherenek. It has been a point of emphasis for Braemeier. They just haven't had that face-off kid in town, right? Like,
Right.
they've had players who would ultimately take face-off, but they would learn the craft later in their careers, and Cherenek is that exception.
Evidently, they have confidence in Cherenek, and they're willing to grow with him as he gets older, and they're hoping in a few years he just becomes that guy that they've been missing.
So first face-off goes to Riley, and now here come the Friars. That's Ruddy. We mentioned him at the Open, part of this senior team or unit here that was honored before the start of this game.
So Darien playing man-to-man straight up right off the bat. We kind of expected his own. I'm sure we'll see some of that later on in the game. But like we mentioned before, pick your poison, right? Who can you guard against? Who do you really focus on? They're so well balanced and have so much talent. And that time they actually forced Merrill wide and off his mark, and he shot the ball away from the cage.
Yeah, so I think the idea, or the plan at least, will be to double pole the midfield between Merrill and Johnston, and that's what Chaminade did to success here at Cy Donnelly Fields.
That's a great idea, but like you look at the attackman, which attackman do you pick to put a shorty on? It's going to be a chess match all day and kind of figuring out how the day goes.
All right, so now it's Darien on attack.
Standing out to me right away is the size of number 20 McNamara. He's a matchup problem. I know that St. Anthony's had some pretty good defensemen, pretty good long poles, but just his size gives them an advantage right off the bat.
Coming downhill for a moment there was Scallon to X. That shot off the mark. And that's the thing with McNamara as well, and he's continuing to learn and get his lacrosse IQ going as well. But regardless of who you put on him, he's still going to be able to shoot over you. He's 6'7".
Yeah. He's hard to lose, on the field. It's not like he could bury himself in a pile. He just, he sticks out, but they have to do a good job of keeping an eye on him wherever he is.
Bilodeau got himself lost for a moment. His shot, though, off the mark.
Bilodeau's really their quarterback. He's the one that makes the offense go.
Rounding the cage there was Scallon. That's also off the mark. And now Darien, they'll just put that ball in the corner as they get their personnel on, as they will attempt to ride back here.
So that's a good strategy, when you're winding down on your clock, instead of trying to get a last shot, bury the ball in the corner, set your ride up, and try to hope for a turnover on the ride.
And you see 11 there. That's Ethan Bramoff. He is excellent as a clearing pole. Here's Rappaport going back to Bramoff, and there he goes.
So Darien started in a deep ride, and as soon as they started carrying the ball, St. Anthony, they jumped up and changed to a hustle ride mid ride. So St. Anthony's going to have to keep an eye on that.
And here's Merrill, and he's got McNamara on him. That's a pair of future Division I players.
Sure. Penn State, North Carolina,
Not too
right
shabby there.
And both of these guys will most likely play, right off the bat.
Merrill slide comes his way, works it to Rooney at X. Out to Harrigan up top. Dylan Harrigan trying to work off of Ruddy Pick.
Darien's still playing a man-to-man and sending guys early. They're in an early slide package, and it worked out and it confused St. Anthony's a little bit there.
And that was McNamara to force that turnover.
In addition to his size, his range as well on ground balls and on picks especially. So, he makes his presence felt just by his sheer size.
Yeah, he is a complete lacrosse player, Mark McNamara. As that's Max McBride now with the ball, the junior. 9 goals, 10 assists on the year. McBride comes downhill. The bouncer. Rappaport lost it for a moment, stays on the crease, and he picks it up.
That official right on the line who was ready to make that call. It was a good call and good non-goal.
So St. Anthony's comes the other way.
I think St. Anthony's still trying to figure out how they want to attack this and who's going to be the guy today.
And there's Johnston, the Hopkins commit. 22, Billy Atkinson. This is part of that second midfield line right now for the Friars.
Good change of direction there.
You have Rooney at X. Missed connection on that pass to Sean Ronayne.
Over and back on St. Anthony's. Three possessions so far, three pretty good defensive possessions and stopped by Darien.
And Darien is a team that averages only 6.6 goals against on the year.
Well, we know that the defensive coordinator, Rick Beardsley, is a Syracuse legend, and he's going to throw the kitchen sink at St. Anthony's today. They're going to be aggressive. They're not going to sit back. They're going to change looks.
That was Bilodeau, and he is dispossessed. They said it was a Ward.
Yeah, that was an interesting call, but I couldn't quite see where the ball got stuck.
So Billy Atkinson, the junior, bound for Bryant. This Friars team blessed with an abundance of really talented juniors. Here's one of them in Rooney. Kicks it out to Merrill. Merrill top side. Merrill rips it. It took a deflection off his crease, was Persinger, but then it was Massaro to bury it in front.
Massaro, Johnny on the spot on that play. It was a tough bounce for Persinger. I think Persinger wanted to come out and control that rebound. Let's see the replay here. Merrill with the shot. Didn't quite get through, and the ball kind of pinballed around in the crease. There we go. Persinger comes out and tries to control the rebound, and he wasn't able to.
Yeah, that's Gio on the spot. Gio Massaro, the senior from Center Reach. His 8th goal of the year for the St. Bonnie's commit. And it's been a few games since Massaro has found the back of the net. That's got to feel good for him. And Cherenek, and now it's the wing play that is involved. Darien double polling on the wing, but still it's Riley to come away with it.
Mikey Riley's a pretty good face-off guy. He's committed to Adelphi and Sharon, but Cherenek, the freshman, is he's holding his own so far.
Yeah, we showed you the numbers on the year. St. Anthony's will throw some Paulie Lenigro out there as well, and they're without their best face-off guy in Robbie Johnson, dealing with a hamstring injury. Here's Merrill.
So let's see. You got kind of Darien.
Oh, Merrill off the bar.
Darien is a little packed in, a little tighter on that possession.
Ground ball is loose. It is picked up by Harrigan. And here's Johnston.
First three possessions, Darien was kind of pressing out on St. Anthony's, and now looks like they're packed in a little tighter, possibly some kind of hybrid zone. They're not going to play behind here. Definitely in the zone.
That off the stick of Merrill. He could fish it back, though, right by the 50.
Yeah, the Darien midfielder hustling back into his spot, so they're going to play this possession tightly.
Johnson up top to Merrill. What a look, Rooney! He took the hit, but he finishes really well, and a great look by Merrill.
So there are different ways to attack the zone, and St. Anthony just showed us one. Here on the replay, you see Merrill up top. They're being patient with the ball, looking for seams, and Rooney was able to sneak in between the bottom seam on the anchor and tuck one in. Nice catch and release.
Yeah, for the junior bound for Maryland, goal number 16. You see, got a McNamara, a little taste of what McNamara could bring, but Rooney finishes strong as well as the Friars take a 2-0 lead. And now it's Lenigro. Wins that face-off. Here's Rappaport. As you can see there, the sun very much in Rappaport's eyes here.
That'll definitely affect the across the field passes or the shots from the goal line extended on this side. hopefully the sun will go away in a little bit.
Yeah, probably at least another 15 minutes
Yeah,
or so.
sure. But otherwise, it's a beautiful day, right? There's not a cloud in the sky, just a little tiny bit of wind, but great day for lacrosse.
It's always a great day for lacrosse.
Absolutely. Where else would we rather be, right?
That was Ronayne who tracks it down in the corner.
Darien back out of the zone, man to man. I anticipate, maybe every possession, maybe every other possession, different looks. Try to confuse St. Anthony's and force them to maybe come out of their comfort zone.
Harrigan, a little shake and bake, shoots it wide.
Darien has a hockey mentality that they're hitting everybody right after their shots. Good physical defense, and making them pay for whatever they want.
Well, St. Anthony's will not shy away from the physical play either.
No.
Rooney, good fake. Little hitch. The bouncer by Ronayne is wide.
Zone call from the ball out of bounds play from St. Anthony, so Darien jumped right into the zone.
Mason Solomon. And St. Anthony's, everything going the Friars' way.
So here's another way to beat a zone, right? So you change positions, you carry the ball forward, you catch the goalie moving, and nice change of levels on that shot.
Yeah, Rooney goes low. That's his second of the game. Usually, obviously, right as an ex-attackman, facilitator.
Sure.
But finding the seams in this zone defensive look that Darien has brought.
And he made a nice change of levels. Even though it was a sidearm to low, it's still a change.
Lenigro wins it clean.
Lenigro having a little bit of better luck on his two face-off than Riley did on his two.
So there's Merrill, and again meeting him out by midfield, McNamara.
That's a big-time matchup. It's two big-time high school players.
Ruddy coming out of the box. Up top to Harrigan. Johnston switches hands. Slide comes his way. Quick ball movement for the Friars.
Merrill matched up on a short stick behind and an invert. Forces Darien to slide and come out of the defense, but also forces an errant pass.
BTB Cacciabato.
So again on the replay is another ball pinballing around the crease, and this time it's Charlie on the spot. So Cacciabato able to catch the ball and right on the crease and throw it behind his back, right in the corner of the cage.
Yeah, part again of that really talented junior class. Another Carolina commit. Goal number 7 on the season for Cacciabato out of Garden City. Back to Riley, back to a face-off win. Rooney knocked down. When you get McNamara there at 6'6", you put a long pole in him. That's like, what, 8 foot or so?
His range is incredible.
Yeah.
Like I said, not just on defense, but knocking down passes. Ground balls, he gets an edge on ground balls, and he gets an edge on when he's out of position. He's able to get back in 2 steps.
Johnston intercepted, really good pickoff, and now Darien comes the other way. That's Mariska, the Loyola commit. And it's that time of season as well, right, Mike? You see some of the college coaches in the stands. We see an assistant with Loyola here as well today.
So I'm thinking probably one of the North Carolina coaches probably has a house nearby, and it just keeps coming to St. Anthony's.
Or he's a big fan of the Varsity Media Sports Network. We're unsure. It could be both.
You couldn't blame him for either, right?
Final minute here of the first quarter. Rappaport makes the save, the loose ball. I almost said puck. You mentioned all the hockey
That's okay.
here.
That's all right.
And a battle for it on the Darien side of midfield. A lot of whacks. And there is McNamara.
McNamara on the ground balls. Gets
coming away.
4-foot advantage on everybody else chasing the ground balls.
Bilodeau holds up. He gets McBride to come downhill a little bit. And there is Connor.
I think if
McNamara.
Darien really wants to kind of jump back in this game, they're going to have to find a way to get Bilodeau involved.
Scallon, the feed, 6 seconds left in the quarter. Here is Bilodeau. Low to high and wide.
It's close.
So 1 second, just a chance to throw it in front, gets knocked down. But what a quarter for St. Anthony's. Listen, you can score a lot of different ways, but it's always fun when you can go BTB. And that's what Double C does right here. Watch Charlie Cacciabata. Whoop! Finds it in the back of the net. St. Anthony's up 4-0 after one. You're watching it here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
This is Jalen Brunson. You're watching Varsity Media.
At Catholic Health, when we see our island, we see extraordinary life. The most extraordinary of which is you. It's because our Catholic faith places the highest value on people. All people. It's the inspiration for our exceptional medical care with unmatched compassion. And it's why at Catholic Health you're more than a patient. You're someone's family, best friend, and a neighbor to us all. Long live Long Island.
Back here at St. Anthony's, it's the Friars with a 4-0 lead after one. We take a look at a few of the previous meetings between these two teams. You see last year, St. Anthony's a 9-5 win. Quinn Langdon with 3-3. Luke Breslin 2-1 in that game. The year before, what a wild one. Actually, in 2022 they had. Before that, of course, or in 23, it was St. Anthony's 18-7. But in 22, an absolute wild one. 1918. Blue Wave scored 5 goals in the final 2:19. They rallied from a 4-goal deficit, and the winner came from Christian Allegro. His third of the game, that came with 1.5 seconds left. That was up on a rainy Saturday afternoon up in Darien. I know that because I watched that game from a coffee shop in Manhasset as I was getting ready to go do Riggs Rock against Chaminade.
Okay.
That got rained out, but Darien and St. Anthony's, they played to fruition in an absolute wild one.
So Darien switches up their face-off guy. They tried the other McNamara on the face-off against Mikey Riley with zero success on that one.
It has been all St. Anthony's facing off, which has not been the case this season. Again, you play a monster schedule like St. Anthony's has, you're just about always going up against a really, really good pole. A very good face-off guy.
Yeah. Time of possession, I think, has been a story of the game so far. St. Anthony's had the ball most of the game, and the scoreboard shows that.
Look at Harrigan riding back. He's got to climb the tree there to get it from McNamara. Now it's a 50-50 ball in midfield. More physicality. This time it was Merrill to bring it. And after all of that, it is Darien to come away with it.
And I like the official kind of letting them play. You know, if they're both physical teams and nobody's complaining or shying away from it, let them play.
That was Henry Jeffers, the sophomore, number 14, who got the ball. Look at this. Split dodge, just losing it at the last second was McBride. And there is a look at Bilodeau. Very much that guy, right? He is the alpha in this attacking six. The bounce shot by Scallon is wide.
So Ethan Bramoff is the defenseman covering Bilodeau, and it looks like Ethan wants to slide on every play. He's kind of the hot guy, or he makes himself the hot guy. So if Bramoff, if Bilodeau is going to have any success, he's got to kind of read and figure out what Bramoff is doing.
And that was really good defense there by the Friars just to affect that shot. That was David McHugh, the junior from Kings Park.
Nice cut.
And if you're at Darien, you've got it. These passes, they have to be clean.
Yeah, they have to connect the dots.
And Rappaport, another save, this time denying Jeffers.
Finally, they've had some time of possession there, and, you know, drop pass changes everything.
Now the Blue Wave will try to ride it back. And there's some knowledgeable Darien fans. Just about everyone who made the trip called for offside, and they were right.
It was a nice look by Rappaport. It was a little too nice as the St. Anthony midfielder snuck over offsides.
That was one of Weiserich's keys to this game, right? Be clean in the middle of the field.
Yes.
As it's McBride now, drawing Johnston, a terrific two-way midfielder. And look at Johnston. And oh, he'll be called for the foul. I think that was some really good defense there by Johnston. They'll give him a 30-second technical foul. But listen, you take a look.
Yep.
That wasn't from behind.
I think that was a fair call. I think there's a couple of ways that the official want to go, and I think 30 seconds is a good trade-off on that one. So we have our first man-up opportunity here for Darien.
Darien, a team that is averaging 13.8 goals, but their numbers, again, it's only through 9 games, and consider the fact that in their last game, they won 24-0 over West Hill, so some of those numbers a little bit skewed.
Yes. So Bilodeau starting this power play, this man-up inside the crease, and see if they try to get him open.
Yeah, with all the hockey synergies, they might as well call it a power play, right?
Yeah, 6-on-4 here.
Step down, that shot wide by Scallon.
That just missed. Short time here on the man up.
And I like the decision or the idea as well. You know, you get McNamara on the crease, you know, just to take away Rappaport's eyes. There he is, behind the back.
There you go.
The sling. As Sam Rosen would say, it's a power play goal.
Good old Sam. Here we go. So like you said, the idea to put McNamara in the middle causes a lot of distraction, right? Could screen the goalie. He creates matchup problems inside. Catches it. Nice backhand release. Great job to get Darien on the board.
So Connor McNamara, number 20, with the goal, and you see McBride getting the assist. For Connor McNamara, big goal. And look at that, you get the face-off win, but look out, here comes Parker McDonald. And that's how quickly a scrum turns to offense, turns to a goal, as Gio Massaro gets his second.
So Darien goes back to Cherenek, the freshman, who actually wins the initial battle of the face-off, but the ball was checked out of his stick, and St. Anthony was able to capitalize on the turnover.
Yeah, one of those where it's like a face-off win, right?
Yeah.
But then McDonald, using his athleticism and size, gets the steal. He races down the field, feeds Massaro, and Massaro gets his second of this first half.
It was like the shortest possession ever. So, you know, they're going to have to work on holding on to the ball there.
And St. Anthony's will
Cherenek
get
is down.
possession, and, Cherenek.
He was banged a little too hard on from behind after the whistle.
He's kind of holding his midsection there.
The wind knocked out of him.
Dylan Weibel is their second option at the face-off X, the senior, at about 65% on the year. A different face-off guy, not the regular though, right? Like you see a guy like Cherenek, like he's going to Greg Gorellin and he's honing his skills and going to the face-off academy, and
yeah, he's getting the necessary reps that all the other guys do that are successful, you know. Mark McNamara locked in against Gary Merrill again. He's not going to give him much space.
Merrill's fine with facilitating. Good shot there by Rooney. Ball is loose.
Incredible ball movement on that sneak around the cage to Rooney. Nice save by Persinger. So Darien back in a man-to-man here.
Now Rooney pops it out to Johnston. They will pull him as well. That's Levine on him, the LSM. Quick slide to McNamara. Still Johnston, though. Johnston! Hey, it doesn't matter who you have on him. Johnston still finishes.
Prior goal scorer number 77, Jake.
So Johnston having a long pole of McNamara chasing him and was able to get away on a nice circular move inside and a nice tuck and roll and a nice sidearm shot top shelf.
First it was Levine, probably the best junior defenseman on this Darien team, and then it's McNamara, and both. Johnston gets by for goal number 23 for the Hopkins commit.
Matchup problems all over for the Darien defense on the St. Anthony's offense. So Darien goes back to the McNamara, the other McNamara for the faceoff this time.
Becomes a scrum. Look at Parker McDonald, how quickly he scoops that ball up off the turf.
Parker McDonald committed to Carolina as well. They'll love to have him down there. He fits right into the LSM mode that the Carolina guys have. They don't mind if the LSM carry the ball and get involved in the offense a little bit.
Not at all. Tournament time now.
Yep.
In college lacrosse. So the ACC must watch television as Harrigan spins to his left.
I'm excited to see who comes out of the tournament as automatic qualifiers, and during the selection to see who gets in this year.
Atkinson, slide comes his way. Good recognition, Massaro. Harrigan, bouncer, and Persinger makes the save.
Saved by Persinger.
Look at Bramoff. Ethan Bramoff. Now, McNamara had it momentarily. A little bit hectic right now, and the Blue Wave, maybe they can capitalize on an unsettled situation. And they do, and it is Bilodeau who does so.
So that all started on a created turnover down in the Darien zone. McNamara able to use his reach to his advantage and come up with a loose ball, push the ball upfield in an unsettled situation, and a really nice shot by Bilodeau. That's the guy that they need to get going right there. Bilodeau has to continue to be aggressive here.
Yeah, the Georgetown commit, his 18th of this season, started out the season on a house on fire. How about 5 goals in that loss to Fairfield Prep in the opener? A legit 6'2", 185-pound attackman. And this another scrum.
I think that's what Darien wants. They don't want they want to avoid clean losses. On possession, they want to turn every face-off into a scrum.
And the Blue Wave come away with this ball.
I think by the end of this game, I think you're going to see Coach Beardsley actually on the field as a 7th defenseman. That's how animated he is. That's how involved in the defense he is.
Heck, that's probably still as good as he is too, right?
He looks great. He looks like he'd get in there too, right? But he's calling all the changes. He's rooting on the team. He's rooting on the offense, the defense. He's got them fired up.
Yeah, an absolutely great addition to this Darien coaching staff.
His enthusiasm for the game is infectious, and I'm sure it's rubbing off on all the Darien kids.
Scallon again shoots it wide. He's found himself the ability to get free, get his hands free, and Scallon, of that first midfield unit, probably the best shooter. He has struggled, and Rappaport makes that save.
That's Rappaport using his size and great position on that wraparound.
And Zerillo will cross the field. They'll go pole to pole, and that is how you clear the ball. Good work there by the Friars.
Yeah, tic-tac-toe up against the Darien ride.
15 you saw there a moment ago in the middle of the field. That was Gavin Johnston. Here is Jake Johnston. This time he's got the short stick matchup.
Let's see what he does to possibly bring the ball behind the cage and invert. They definitely identified a matchup, but he elects to go to number 4.
And that's Alex Ruddy. Ruddy 11-3 on the year. He will play his college lacrosse at Michigan.
The endless well of talented offensive guys.
Oh, my goodness.
Coach Beardley definitely got his hands full today with trying to figure out who to shut off, who to double, who to slide early to. It's a problem.
So is that shot by Ruddy where it just rang off the bar. Again, time and space. You don't give a player like Alex Ruddy that time of room. He will bury it every time.
I think there was a little bit of confusion on the Darien defense on the next slide, up to the backside. Let's see the replay. The movement to Ruddy, and inside there was a little confusion off of who was going to come off of Johnston and get out to Ruddy, and Ruddy's able to keep his hands free and just got a 10-yard step down.
I think he was even surprised. He took that extra step like, all right, I'm going to take it, no problem.
He hesitated. Nobody's coming. I'm going to keep going.
And Rooney gets another assist as well. So Rooney's got 25 assists on the year, and Ruddy gets goal number 12 on the year. So timeout here by Darien. 3:22 left in this first half, and Mike, an opportunity for us to take a look at some really big broadcasts that we have coming up. Of course, on Saturday, it is the girls and boys Woodstick Classic doubleheader. For the girls, it is the 10th annual, although they have played every year, but the 10th straight year they've called it the Woodstick Classic.
It should be.
And for the boys, it is number 142. You see there 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock from Garden City High School. Myself and Brian Soper will be on the call for that one, the Woodstick Classic. And, of course, it's the championship game in the Nassau-Suffolk Catholic AAA. And it is St. Anthony's and Chaminade. This doubles as a state championship as well. They are the only 2 AAA teams. They will do battle at Hofstra Stadium May 15th. Join us at 4:45 for our pregame show. And that is must watch. It always is when it is Chaminade and St. Anthony's. The added element, of course, comes with Chaminade winning here at St. Anthony's. They ended a streak of 8 straight losses. Kieran Walsh with a massive save at the end. And between those 2 teams, I think we counted it before the start of that game, 43 future Division I players on those 2 rosters.
No surprise those guys are going at it again. Like you said, this year, Chaminade is the one with the target on their back in the championship game.
Yeah, I'm not sure if BetMGM has anything to do with it, but they would list the Flyers, especially with Quinn Ball to Faceoff X, as a favorite in that one. Good to see Cherenek back in there, although he did lose that faceoff. And it's the Friars back. And you mentioned possession time and opportunities certainly slanted in favor of these Friars. Again, it's the short stick. And Johnson, look at the explosion by Johnston. Up top to Merrill. Merrill!
That's just a tough step down for Persinger to get a handle on. Again, he's able to get his hands free from 10 yards out, maybe 12 yards out, offside, off stick hip. Persinger had a tough time. That's a big-time player with a big-time shot. Virtually impossible to stop.
Just a hammer for Merrill. Goal number 34 on the season.
And Coach Weiserick telling Gary Merrill exactly what he needs to hear. Just keep shooting.
Hey, got some good words there from Coach Schreiber as well, right?
Yes.
a guy who knows a thing or two about
little bit.
offensive lacrosse. His son, probably still the best player in the world.
Great lacrosse family.
And I often ask the question of Keith Weiserick, and to be fair, it is an unfair question to ask about the Mount Rushmore here at St. Anthony's, but Tommy Schreiber absolutely there, Brennan O'Neill absolutely there, and then it is certainly a lot of debate, which is a good problem to have, right? Where you can go McAdory there, and there's been so many terrific players.
Did Coach Weiserick fill in the last two guys, or he was reluctant to give you the answer?
No, it's like a TBD. Like we'll see. Like there's a curtain over that Mount Rushmore.
Gotcha.
You know, could Gary Merrill find his way there as well?
So we've had a third official added. John Tuttle has been added to the group here. No doubt stuck in traffic. But I think this game deserves a three-man officiating game. You know, this is not a game for two men.
A little hesitation, and the kick out. Number 10, Aiden O'Connell. Harrigan, the feed in front. Nice save by Persinger.
No second slide on that two-man by St. Anthony's. However, Persinger was able to keep the ball out of the cage all on his own. Look at this, fast break.
And Rappaport gets low to make the save.
Saved by Rappaport.
It was Mr. McNamara in transition again, pushing, and I want to say pushing the puck up the ice, but pushing the ball up the field for that breakaway.
I mean, we are in the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs, so
Sure.
you are forgiven certainly for making that type of reference. And a timeout taken by the Friars, but what a save by Rappaport there just a moment ago. Unofficially, we have him at 4 saves. And here's another look. What an opportunity for Darien in transition. That was number 21, Will Bremer, the senior defensive midfielder. But Rappaport said no. It's very interesting, right? There's a lot of different philosophies when you have two goalies.
Sure.
Sometimes you split a game, but what Weiserick and his staff have elected to do is they play every other game.
Okay.
So the next game, we can pencil in Dennis Brady, who's been really good for St. Anthony's. And then the next game after that is Rappaport.
That takes away a lot of the guesswork and adds, time for each goalie to prepare for their next start.
And both guys going to play collegiate lacrosse. Brady going to Lynn and Rappaport going to Loyola, right? Charlie Toomey there. He knows something, right, about goalies. So
yeah, he'll be in good hands with Coach Toomey for sure.
Absolutely will. And here's a look at some of those commits for St. Anthony's. And you see a lot of D1, but also, right, Joe Schwartz going to Skidmore. And then you've got Wesleyan for Mason Solomon. That's just that. This is just the first slab. We'll bring a second one in here as well.
Even Brady going to Lynn in Florida. That's a good program. Lynn's a great program. He'll do well down there.
Man Caruso is a little bit banged up. Played well in that win against Lawrenceville, another UNC commit. Mikey Riley you mentioned before, and here's the third of that grouping. Robbie Johnson, a guy who's barely stepped on the field, suffered that injury against Culver, like the first or second face-off of his junior year. Still not back, but not kind of considered done for the year. They're still trying to see if they can get him back, especially for that final game against Chaminade. So final 20 seconds here of the first half. Let's see if the Friars, do they get one more here? Here is Merrill against McNamara. Merrill rounds the cage, pumps the brakes, reverses course. Merrill off the bar.
I think Persinger might have got a piece of that as well. That was a nice inside roll by Gary Merrill and a nice job by Persinger. it definitely got them off them because they reset the shot clock.
Halftime with the score, St. Anthony's
So
8,
St.
Darien
Anthony's
2.
with an 8-2 lead at the break. And a lot of different players involved. How about 77 double J's, Jake Johnston. He doesn't care who's on him. He is still finding the back of the net. The junior from Melville has helped the Friars to an 8-2 lead at the break. You're watching it all right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
At St. Francis Heart Center, we're not just regional heart experts. We share our greater success with the world. We don't just pioneer technology. We do it more than anywhere on Greater Long Island. And we don't just win awards. We deliver greater outcomes for people like you. As New York's only specialty designated cardiac center, we're not satisfied with just being good. This is Long Island. This is St. Francis Heart Center. And greater lives here.
Pole goal, yes! A man down pole goal as well. Busking, the skip somehow found its way through. BTB and a save.
At the buzzer, we have
The Long Island Lacrosse Showcase is the premier opportunity for the high school players from Long Island to be recognized for their lacrosse skills. For over a decade, this event has been widely recognized as the premier event for exposure before college coaches of all levels. Players showcase their abilities while competing to earn a spot to represent their county in the Long Island Showcase Nassau versus Suffolk Games. Hosted in collaboration with the high school lacrosse coaches of Nassau and Suffolk counties, the Long Island Lacrosse Showcase had over 90 college coaches attend various rounds of the showcase. Make sure to register today.
Two-man game. Nice save up high.
For the latest news in high school sports, be sure to check out varsitymedia.net or follow us on social media at Varsity Media.
Hey parents, Varsity Media is now offering ISO video of just your athlete. Why settle for the wide angle that shows every player on the field? With our ISO video, your athlete is front and center the entire game. This footage will help in creating highlight videos for college coaches to better pinpoint your athlete's play on the field. Watching our video will help your athlete improve progressively throughout the season and may lead to a college scholarship. Varsity Media is now booking ISO videos for the spring, but spots are limited. Contact us today for lacrosse, baseball, softball, and tennis by calling 516-403-2050 or emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. It's time to book a Varsity Media Sportscast and get on the big stage. A Varsity Media Sportscast is seen by thousands of people, both live and on demand, from friends and family all over the world to prospective college coaches. Our announcers will help tell the story of your team and your athletes. There is no bigger stage to be on than Varsity Media. Book a sportscast today by contacting Varsity Media.
high school sports fans. Varsity Media is the exclusive live stream partner of Nassau County Championships. To live stream fall, winter, and spring championship events, head to varsitymediapass.com to order. Now accessible on smart TVs. Varsity Media is your home for the Nassau County Championships.
This is Jalen Brunson. You're watching Varsity Media.
At Catholic Health, when we see our island, we see extraordinary life. The most extraordinary of which is you. It's because our Catholic faith places the highest value on people. All people. It's the inspiration for our exceptional medical care with unmatched compassion. And it's why at Catholic Health you're more than a patient. You're someone's family, best friend, and a neighbor to us all. Long live Long Island.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media. You're watching Varsity Media, New York's high school sports network.
When it comes to live streaming, Varsity Media does it all. Athletic events, concerts, musicals, graduations, even weddings. Trust Varsity Media when it comes to your live stream event. Contact us today to learn more about Varsity Media's live streaming services at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
He's got room to go. Merrill towards the end zone. Lost his lid. Touchdown!
JJ Damo, face on, stay on athlete. Controlling the face-off. That's 3 in a row now.
For all the latest Varsity Media updates, including our game schedules, be sure to follow us on social media at Varsity Media, the home for New York high school sports.
Well, the fans, listen, Salagano was getting the tunes going, and those fans loved what they heard, certainly. As it is Dylan Butler, Mike Nelson. Is that Alex Ruddy's head there that they've got? I believe it is. Yeah, one of the seniors honored here on senior night at St. Anthony's. And Mike, certainly when we look at the first half stats, a first half that checked off a lot of boxes for the Friars.
Yeah, well, I think that what they wanted to do was really, dominate possession time, and they certainly did that. Darien had not even close to the amount of time that St. Anthony's had with the ball.
And you see the face-off X too, and that's one of the reasons why they had so much more possession. Yeah. Both goalies, though, coming up with some really good saves, 4 apiece, and Darien capitalizing on the only man-up opportunity of this game as McNamara got himself, his big body, to the crease, and he finished there. Your goal scorers for Darien, it's Bilodeau and McNamara, and for St. Anthony's, 2 each for Rooney and Massaro, and then 1 for Cacciabato, 1 for Merrill. One for Jake Johnson and one for the boys there with the fat head, and one for Alex Ruddy as well.
I think the Darien goalie Persinger has done a decent job, but the quality shots that St. Anthony's been getting is just really indefensible.
Paulie Lenigro with the face-off win.
Possession goes to St. Anthony's again.
And here's Johnston. Draws the pole in Levine. Ruddy does not. He's got Mariska as the short stick matchup. They swing it this way. One more. Harrigan, step down shot, and that's just off the mark.
Person, you got a really nice look at that. I think he was close to making that happen, but it was just wide.
Here's Rooney, the junior, bound for Maryland.
I like the enthusiasm by the St. Anthony crowd.
Well, listen, we're nice and comfortable in the press box,
Yeah.
but we are being told, especially when Becca Kazak's made her way here, one of our camera operators, it is chilly out there tonight. So one way to, I guess, stay warm is to get loud.
Yep.
And Gary Merrill's a guy who makes them get loud so often. That shot also just off the mark.
Lacrosse season, you can have 3 seasons in one game. It can be hot when you start, and at the end of the game, you can be freezing.
That in and out of the stick of Massar, an opportunity now to clear for Darien. The Blue Wave, they want to just chip away here.
Yeah.
That's a good one to start things off with in Max McBride. Good vision, good dodger. McBride, number 3. A guy who is just, his head coach, Jeff Braymeyer, says just tough as nails. Here's Scallon, draws the short stick matchup. Slide comes, it's Johnston coming his way. Look out. McHugh came with the hammer.
Johnson stuck on defense on that possession, but he did a pretty good job.
Well, to be fair, Johnston, as Keith Weiserick will say, probably still the best defensive midfielder. That was his position a year ago.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable with 77, certainly on that side of the field, most likely where he will operate at the next level.
He's not a tremendously big kid or really large build, but he's physical and he's athletic and he can run and he does a great job all over the field.
Here's Ruddy. Ruddy gets downhill.
Good job by that short stick D-Mitty.
Now the slide comes Ruddy's way. Johnston! Lowered the boom for goal number 2.
Prior goal scored by number 77, Jake Johnston.
So as we were just discussing Mr. Johnston, now he finds himself back on offense and creates some room for himself by cutting, and nice catch and release by him off a nice feed by Ruddy.
And Ruddy realized, right, as soon as the slide came, was patient, got the ball to Johnston, who was open, hands free, and scored another one.
Yeah, Ruddy bounced out of the dodge and pulled back and was able to look inside.
So 9-2 lead now for the Friars.
Going back to McNamara on the face-off for Darien.
Against Mikey Riley.
The long pole.
And it's McNamara to come away with it. Only momentarily, though.
Yeah, he did a good job coming up with the ball, but he ran himself into trouble. And it's tough. He's a big target out there.
So somehow coming away with that again, Henry Jeffers. That has impressed me because, again, the sophomore is not very tall, right? Number 14 for Darien, but still in some of these scrums finds a way to come away with it. Look at the speed. Great switch and a finish as well. Wes Scallon.
Let's watch him run straight down the middle of the field on St. Anthony's. Here he goes with a big head of steam and was able to turn around number 2, Brody Reichert, and found himself 10 yards outside of the cage. And nice shot.
That was straight down Wolf Hill Road for Scallon. The junior, his 12th of the year.
He got himself so much speed that it was almost impossible to get somebody to slide to him.
And Braymeyer says it, right? A really good alley dodge shooter as well.
Sure. That's tough for a goaltender.
Riley does get it into his stick, and now hunted by McNamara. Runs up the sideline. And now Riley's like, let me get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
And it's Bilodeau to come away with the ground ball.
That was a great job by the adjacent Darien defender to cut off their outlets, to cut off their men that they were covering, and force Riley into a turnover. You don't want to give up any easy outs when there's a struggling a face-off Fogo guy carrying the ball.
Scallon, who just scored, he works so well with Bilodeau. Of course, as soon as I say that, they were off the mark on that pass.
That's tough. They don't want to, they don't want to create turnovers or have any mental mistakes here. If they want to have any chance of getting back in the game.
So now it's Rappaport, an excellent clearing goalie, in Zerillo. Johnston takes a couple of whacks, and St. Anthony's clean through the midfield, which is exactly what their head coach said he wanted to see tonight. Now the second midfield comes on. You see Sean Ronayne, Billy Atkinson. There he is with the ball, and Mason Solomon now coming out of the box.
Johnston is really solid and dependable, carrying the ball, transitioning the ball on a clear or an off a ground ball. He's coach's dream, on possession.
Atkinson somehow still has the ball. This one, though, knocked down, and now Darien, an opportunity, unsettled. But the numbers weren't there. A smart play there just to pump the brakes and get your numbers on the field. And there's McBride, number 3. And when you look at this attacking 6, the 3 starting attack, 3 first-line midfielders, only 1 senior, Connor McNamara, among them. So they will be good for a couple of years, and that was pretty good as well. Big Mac.
And then we see Connor McNamara, just as Dylan was describing, with the ball and able to get over top of his short stick defenseman, taking advantage of the match up and no slide and 10 yards step down. Hard for Rappaport to handle that one.
Another great look, lowers the shoulder, and then overhand shot. So a lot of torque there for the 6'7" Connor McNamara.
And you saw the matchup issues that he creates just based on his size.
His second of the game. Polinigro now against the long pole. He'll win it, but again, being hunted.
Looks like Darien's going to try and ride out the rest of the game with McNamara facing off the rest of the game.
McDonald tries to go high. A really good save. Now McDonald from behind trying to get the stick check. And numbers for Darien. Off the bar. It was a good read by Rappaport.
Still a shot. Yep. That was Will Bremer running with a full head of steam and bouncing the ball off the crossbar.
And now Darien, we said, right? Probably that great coaching staff you have, one of the words as Bilodeau lowers his shoulder. Look at Bilodeau! And Rappaport was there. Bilodeau bringing that physicality at 6'2", 185.
So the last 2 or 3 times Darien's had the ball, they've tried to dodge from the wing and try to get over the top. And so far, St. Anthony's hasn't really solved a way to keep the offensive guy down the middle. There's another one, the same play. Nice shot by number 4. Good stop by Rappaport.
And that was Scallon with the save. Another ground ball, though. Another opportunity for the Blue Wave to chip away.
So here's another wing dodge, right, on a short stick. See him get over the top. Now McDonald figures it out and goes early.
That a contested shot, and Rappaport with another save.
That time St. Anthony's figured out what Darien was trying to get accomplished and sent McDonald on an early slide.
Parker McDonald to Merrill. Now Merrill attacks the middle of the field. He gets topside. Merrill, the jump shot.
Here's a matchup against the short stick.
Yeah, Ruddy swims to his left, pumps the brakes, spins the other way. To Merrill. McNamara on him. Spins, Merrill. Merrill, the bouncer, wide.
That was a nice job by Hopkins, the short stick the midi on Ruddy. But again, who do you put the long pole on? I mean, you know, they're obviously putting it on Merrill, but you know the other two options at midfield were tough.
And Johnston, another for Jake, a hat trick. And this as pretty as they come.
Okay, Johnston able to get himself open in the middle. I'm sure Coach Beardsley's not happy with the lack of slide from the backside, and Johnston finding open seam, catch. Behind the back, release, right? Low shot on perfect.
Harrigan the assist. Jake Johnston, who has been spectacular this year, gets his hat trick in spectacular fashion, going BTB. And a big one, too, for the Friars, as Lenigro gets the win. He will go backwards this time.
Rappaport taking his time, being patient on the clear.
An errant pass there. And the GB picked up, and Darien with the ball. That's a hit from behind, and there is the flag.
Long pole trying on a clear and just ran it to a gauntlet of St. Anthony's decks. Number 43 was Patrick Herron. We'll take that foul.
Yeah, 30-second push. Only the second man-up opportunity. Darien has cashed in, or did cash in, on their first. It was McNamara to score it from the high crease back in the first half.
Right. So earlier they had Bilodeau and McNamara in the crease on their earlier man-up set. Now they just have McNamara. And he moved around pretty well in there. Taking a lot of attention away from other guys.
They work at the X. Great knockdown. Look at Parker McDonald. Slings it. A little bit of an errant pass there because now you got numbers for Darien. Great hustle back, though, to make sure it wasn't something unsettled. Low shot, and Rappaport a save.
Nice save by Rappaport and a really nice right-up to the midfielder.
And something you don't want to see if you are St. Anthony's is another injury. Now, Parker McDonald, he has been banged up, and you see him hobbling off the field.
Yeah, he's got a lot of bandages and wraps and what have you on his legs. So I'm sure his legs are not feeling great right now.
He is a warrior. Parker McDonald. And we will reset the shot clock.
We're all even now. Okay.
And it is Darien possession. Trying to get it to McNamara. And this will be against the Blue Wave. The senior night here at St. Anthony's. And there's Gary Merrill.
Very nice look by Rappaport to the box to find Merrill coming out.
What a senior year he has had. Merrill committed to North Carolina. Initially, Joe Bresci came a call in for Lacrosse, and then Bill Belichick said, hang on a second. So he will go down to play both sports.
It's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is certainly a recent trend that we've seen, as that sidearm shot by Harrigan was wide.
Hey, why not?
I mean, it worked in Notre Dame, right?
Absolutely, so. Yeah. I'm sure Bresci and Belichick can work together. They'll figure out a way to make it happen. There's other players, other athletes that are part-time football players that could potentially play at Carolina as well.
BTB attempt by Ruddy.
Great save by Persinger.
What I wonder, though, is if, like you get like a syllabus right before the start, maybe you get the playbook. I wonder if you get actually Bill Belichick's book, and you have to read it before you get to Chapel Hill. Like,
well, he's not an easy coach to play for, that's for sure. He's not going to just let you show up and be unprepared.
Bouncer.
His quizzes and testing is legendary. So Mr. Merrill, if he's going to play both, he's got his hands full.
That was McBride bouncing it wide. Inside roll. Read well by Rappaport. Good save there by the junior. Bound for Loyola. Now an opportunity in the final 7 seconds. Lobbed forward, and here's Johnston. Listen, why not? If you're Johnston, this time he fed it to Rooney as time expires in quarter number 3. But Jake Johnston, listen, Darien, they said he's the glue of this team.
Yeah.
There's also some slickness with that glue as he goes BTB for goal number 3. 10-4 lead for St. Anthony's. Fourth quarter coming up next on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
For the latest news in high school sports, be sure to check out varsitymedia.net or follow us on social media at Varsity Media.
At St. Francis Heart Center, we're not just regional heart experts. We share our greater success with the world. We don't just pioneer technology. We do it more than anywhere on Greater Long Island. And we don't just win awards. We deliver greater outcomes for people like you. As New York's only specialty designated cardiac center, we're not satisfied with just being good. This is Long Island. This is St. Francis Heart Center. And greater lives here.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
Back at Cy Donnelly Field here on the campus of St. Anthony's. Fourth quarter about to begin, and the Friars with a 10-4 lead after 3.
Dylan, I've been really impressed with Johnston, and not just his scoring ability, but his ability to get open on the clear and in the offense and unsettled situations. He just has a high IQ and a knack for getting himself opportunities.
Mikey Riley, the win. And that's the thing, right? When you go against a McNamara, you might win the faceoff, but you're going to get a few bruises to go along with it as well as Merrill.
You can see the Coach Beardley effect on McNamara with a few kayak checks and a couple of overheads. That's straight out of Coach Beardley's playbook.
And there is Johnston, you mentioned before. 3 goals on the day to go along with an assist for Jake Johnston. Ruddy, the one more to Merrill.
He's just so smooth. Everything he does, Johnston.
It's Ruddy. Now St. Anthony's, they'll utilize the shot clock, which is now down to 22 seconds. Rooney the feed. Nice knockdown. Ball picked up, though. Look at underneath. Merrill took a shot as well. He is down. McNamara will be called for the foul. And this a concern here for the Friars.
Yeah, McNamara made Merrill pay for that shot attempt. Let's hope he's okay. Let's take a look at the rebound. It was a shoulder to shoulder check, so I'm thinking that the refs are going to call something, but I'm just happy it wasn't to the head.
So it'll be a 1-minute foul, but obviously the bigger concern right now is for Gary Merrill. The injury bug has hit the St. Anthony's team so hard throughout the year. They have managed to survive that, but you've not had a Merrill down. And it was a hard hit by McNamara, a penalized one, but as you rightfully mentioned, it wasn't a headshot.
Right. Which we're happy for that. And hopefully, you know, at the least extent of it, maybe he just got a wind knocked out of him, but let's hope it's nothing serious.
And you mentioned it before, right? Great atmosphere here, senior day, and it was an absolute hush there for a few minutes, and it's good to see Merrill up. One of the captains of this team, one of the leaders, has really been phenomenal as a senior.
Right. It's good to see him jog off the field. So hopefully he's going to be okay.
So the Friars will be man up for the first time here tonight.
So I see Merrill with his helmet on, the first guy next to the box, almost like politicking to get back on the field. And I don't think the training staff is going to let that, or the coaches are going to let that happen.
So I will say, so again, you asked me the question about the Mount Rushmore, right? And the one thing that Weiserick said is just the compete level, that compete button that Merrill has been unmatched of anybody that he has coached.
Yeah. And you see it there. You know, he's a competitor. He's not willing to leave on his own.
Ready to Johnston. Harrigan. They'll go the other way. Massaro attacks the middle. They'll go GLE. And the finish by Ronayne. The man-up goal for the Friars.
So it's good ball movement by St. Anthony's. One thing about these guys is, you know, the stick work is so good and the shooting is so good that there really are no such things as low-angle shots anymore. These guys could just take a 3-inch opening and just stick it where they want to. So he didn't even have to come higher. He just found a spot against Persinger and stuck it home.
So Sean Ronayne with the goal, the assist to Dylan Harrigan.
Friar goal scored
It is
by
a
number
man-up
30.
goal for the Friars, who now have an 11-4 lead. The junior from Oakdale, goal number 4. And McNamara comes away, loses it. Inzerillo brought some heat his way. And you get the feeling a little bit, listen, Merrill is the leader of this team, right?
Right.
Now, it was a penalty. I don't think it was anything malicious by McNamara, but you saw right away, right? He's facing the poles. They're letting him feel it a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, and, you know, and the injury kind of fired up St. Anthony's a little bit. St. Anthony's getting some different personnel out on the field.
And I think that's part of the argument there by the Darien staff, right? They thought that some of the Friars are maybe taking some liberties with McNamara there for a moment.
Right.
Rappaport, a nice save. That was McBride. Some shiftiness there to get himself free. Jump shot, and again, Rappaport was on it.
So I think the St. Anthony defense is hip to that offensive set that Darien's throwing out, and they're trying to come over the top. They just send in a guy early to slide, and not able to get his hands free and get a good shot like they were earlier.
That was Scallon with the opportunity. Get a little hitch.
Yeah, McBride's quick.
Another step down or another jump shot.
Yeah, over the top. Over the top has been, you know, working somewhat for Darien, but not often.
Third Long Island opponent Darien has faced. Second trip to the island. They beat Manhasset 13-7. They lost to Chaminade up at home 16-10. And this is one that does find its way past Rappaport.
See, it's the size difference between McBride and McNamara. They do different things, but both with the same end result. Here you go, McBride taking Justice Durham down the alley, and no slide on that one, and nice low shot against Rappaport off stick side.
Goal number 10 on the year for McBride, the Lafayette-bound junior.
Darien goal scored by McBride. Max McBride.
And now back to the face-off X, and as you mentioned, it's going to be a steady diet of McNamara there. He will win this face-off. And Heron's coming his way. So 11-5 is your score. As Darien trying to get some goals here in the fourth quarter. They are at their low mark right now in goals scored. There is that shiftiness. They work it back to Thurlow. Thurlow. And again, McBride. And that went off the bar.
Great hitch move and look inside by McBride. Really good two-man stuff right there.
He gets it back, McBride. This time slide comes his way. An errant pass picked up. Thurlow. That one knocked down.
Delayed foul on St. Anthony's.
It was Inzerillo with the knockdown. The rebound popped in front. McNamara denied by Rappaport.
Save McNamara.
And this will be a 1-minute slash here.
Saved by Rappaport.
So they called the cross check, I guess, on number 43 on St. Anthony's on Patrick Heron.
Well, officially they said a slash, but yes.
Yeah.
I would be right there with you saying it was a cross check. Regardless, it is a 1-minute penalty.
1 minute stick foul is a 1 minute stick foul, no matter what you call it.
And an opportunity for Darien to continue to work on their man-up team.
You can see St. Anthony's has some different personnel in the game now as
Brody
we're getting
Rickard
late in the
getting
game.
up high. Surrounded by Darien Blue Wave player, still gets it out.
McNamara with that reach.
Took a shot from McHugh. There is an edge to this fourth quarter. Here's McBride now with it. Step down, rip, what a shot. Another man-up goal for the Blue Wave. And you give it to Wes Scallon.
So Scallon catches the ball on the man up and just continues to step in, and waits for somebody to pick him up, and nobody really quite came, and it was a great overhand bounce shot, high to low to high. High bounce shots, tough for the goalies.
So 11-6 now is St. Anthony's lead. Nigro goes backwards. And now here's Rappaport. Doesn't get any easier for Darien going forward. You get into that FCAC gauntlet, if you will, and you are home for New Canaan. You're at Ridgefield. You take on Mamaroneck as well out of Westchester County. And for St. Anthony's, you take on Bosco, and it feels like Weiserek said it. I mean, look, you take the games when you can get them, right? But
sure,
it's like every other day it feels like they're playing. So Bosco will be in 2 days' time. As Rooney.
The tougher the schedule during the regular season, whether they're regular league games or non-league games, the better prepared they're going to be for the playoffs.
And then you do get a little bit of a respite before taking on Staples. And that'll be just before their second showdown of the year against Chaminade. Here is Merrill. Merrill right to the cage. So good to see Gary Merrill back in the game.
Showing his toughness, come back from that hit, and I'm sure Coach Belichick would be happy to see that.
Some Darien fans wanted a timeout called. I don't know if you can call it from the stands.
I don't think they have any left. the people in the stand, they have no timeouts left.
There could have been an argument as well for a trip.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I thought for sure there might be something like that. But, you know, these officials have kind of let them play all game.
Ruddy lost it at midfield. Still comes away with it. That is the kind of toughness you need when you go on and play Big Ten lacrosse.
So I wouldn't say that St. Anthony's has dominated them or you know, but they've handled them pretty well, Darien. But Darien's not going away. They're fighting until the last couple minutes. And that's a good sign of a good team and a good program heading in the right direction.
Johnston coming downhill to Rooney. Rooney off the mark. Ruddy tries to pick it up. Now a battle, comes away with it. That was a good one with Mariska.
Yeah. Only a junior, Mariska. He'll be back.
Here's Harrigan with 11 on the shot clock. Tried to switch his hands, nearly lost it. Shoots it off the mark. Rooney the backup with 5.
That was pretty good defense by number 33, Benedict. He himself a sophomore, not letting Rooney get his hands free.
Rooney did there, and that shot was wide. So shot clock violation, and now it's an opportunity to clear, although that one was bounced off the turf. A little bit sloppy here for the Blue Wave in the middle of the field. Against Brunswick, they did such a good job defensively, and there's another flag against the Friars.
So let's think forward a little bit, right? So St. Anthony's is up by 5 goals with 3 minutes left. I know the game is not really out of hand, but they have a good amount of their starters on the field, and they're already banged up to begin with. So, I think he's got to look to maybe preserve his guys for future matchups, especially against Chaminade.
This will be another 1 minute slash. During this timeout, an opportunity to take a look at some of the college commits for the Blue Wave. And we mentioned before, right, McBride going to Lafayette, Thurlow, Nova, Bilodeau, Georgetown. You see that full list there. McNamara as well, of course. Mariska going to Loyola, and there's been quite a pipeline, if you will, from Darien down to Loyola. Let's take a look at it here as we'll show you some of the next level players here for Darien. Of course, Brady Picorni, what a terrific attackman he was at Notre Dame. And there you see some of the Loyola guys, right? Minikis and Hagan and McGuckin and Wilson.
Some pretty good players coming out of the program, Darien, and going right down that pipeline, right down 95 to Loyola.
There'll be another one as well, because it is Mariska. We were just singing his praises, the defensive midfielder. He is also a Loyola commit. And sometimes it is as simple as one guy goes, he is successful, you like what he brings.
Sure.
Let's go back, right?
Yeah, sure. Not only just talent, but like the makeup of the kid, and the program that he's been brought up in, what kind of person he is. That goes a long way.
It's another man-up opportunity. McBride gets it back from McNamara. That off the pipe. Good ground ball picked up.
Very good ground ball. Maintain possession.
Trying to get low to high. Rappaport was on it, and there was no backup.
That was an early call by the official, but good hustle by both of those guys. I like Mr. McBride. He's a very good little player.
Oh, look out. Durham and Bilodeau. And Justice, I think if he would have continued, he would have lost more than just his glove.
Yeah. Justice is finding out what life as a ball carrier is just like,
He too has been banged up, so it's good to see him back on the field.
And the Delphi commit.
You and Soap always make sure to mention
we have
Delphi guys.
It's in the blood, baby.
Although he always ends it with a "Go Panthers," so you've been more diplomatic about that.
Okay. Well, I don't want to top Brian, but I'll figure out something to say.
So final 2 minutes of this one. Senior night has, to this point, been a successful one for the Friars. Ruddy denied. His fan base was ready to erupt.
Yeah, they had the confetti ready for Mr. Ruddy on that one. Person did a nice job of staying present and staying big and denying the shot. So Mr. Soper and I were both goalies at a Delphi, so maybe I'll have to bring something back that refers to the goalies.
All right. That's a good look, and you could see Rappaport was on it, right?
Yeah. Nice wide base. He had both pipes covered. He saw the shot pretty well.
So if you follow the math along, right, you would figure in 2 days at Bosco, it'll be Brady in the cage.
Yes.
And then it'll be Rappaport against Staples. And then, again, if that
Brady
continues, it'll be Brady against Chaminade.
Okay. look, if it's been working for them, you know, I don't see a reason to mess with the formula. Rappaport played well here tonight. You know, Brady's a good goalie in his own right.
It's a nice save by Rappaport. Another one inside the final minute now of regulation time.
Merrill and Johnston still out on the field at the end of the game, and Ruddy getting ready to come on.
And Mariska comes on to play defense. Merrill here on senior night.
St. Anthony's, there's too many men on that side of the field. There's 7 guys on offense. Just snuck one off.
Johnson up top. You could just hold here. The shot clock not a factor in the final 9 seconds. And after 3 consecutive losses, which is super uncharacteristic, even with a national schedule that St. Anthony's plays, it is now 3 wins in a row for the Friars as they improve to 10-4 on the season with this 11-6 win. For Darien, they fall to 6-4, but again, too, it's a program that will play all comers.
Sure.
It only makes them better now as they head in to their FCAC, or the meat and potatoes of their FCAC slate.
Absolutely.
So this year's annual showdown between these two teams goes to St. Anthony's, their 3rd consecutive win against Darien. But what a night it was for St. Anthony's. Cacciabato, as cool as you like, picking it up. CNC Music Factory. Rappaport comes in with the save. How about a little Jake Johnston at the crease? Darien would not go down without a fight. That's Max McBride finding the back of the net. Wes Scallon from distance. But the Alex Ruddy fan base, they go away happy, as it is St. Anthony's who come out with the 11-6 win. For Ben Turchin, Chris Sweeney, Rebecca Kazaks, and Jeff Damo bring you all the great moving images from our broadcast partner, Mike Nelson. Dylan Butler, thanking you for joining us from Cy Donnelly Field. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Varsity Media Sports Network.